Today we'll start with something a little bit more like my typical foundation warm-up, relatively quickly. Let's start by bringing the head back, feel the crown rise, soften the knees, sitting down into the hips. We tilt the body a little bit forward and counterbalance that backward movement of the head. Loosening and sinking the shoulders and hips, spreading the hands and feet. Relax the face and jaw. Tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth. As the back rounds, we lift the upper back and then close the chest. As the tailbone drops under the body, feel the lower back lengthen. The breath start to collect in the abdomen. Palms lightly cupped, feet lightly grasping the floor, the tailbone feeling a little lifted. Release all the way down right through the legs. So release any excess tension, but feel some support rising up from the floor. Feel the breath becoming nice and full in the abdomen, relaxed, slow, even. Maintain this whole body feeling as we start to rock the weight forward and back, about 70%. Feel the feet pressing and grasping the floor. The action working its way up through the ankles into the lower legs. Side to side. Maintain the posture without any stiffness. Let this small movement help relax and integrate the body. All these points of the posture are really not separate things. They're part of a single posture. Eventually they start to just happen together. And one of the changes, starting with the head, trickles down through the body, creates a single feeling. In a circle, relaxing the hips, letting that movement get up into the abdomen. Again, the trick with following a video is that you tend to stare at the screen. Really, the eyes should be relaxed, and the gaze is soft and directed a little to the distance. So you can check in with the screen from time to time. I want it to be more about what we feel happening in the body than
Tai Chi Walking.
Than staring at a picture that we're trying to copy exactly. Pause and reverse. So much for moving too quickly through the foundation exercises. It's actually quite hard for me to rush them. It just takes a little while for everything to relax into place. Find that full body coordination. Now look up. Keeping the crown lifted, the chin a little bit back, and open the front of the body, spreading the palms as the chin a little forward. Down, open the back. The crown is always floating up, the tailbone's always sinking down under the body. Keep the sense of a long spine. Letting the weight sink also helps stabilize the low body. You might feel a little change in the feet, but the weight's not rocking back and forth anymore. You might still feel the feet spread as the palms open, grasp the floor, as the palms round up. Upper body is mobile, lower body is stable, but it's still a whole body feeling. I still feel that gentle stretch down the whole front of the body, even where the hips are stabilized. Some side bending. And as we feel one side lengthen, we feel the other side consolidating, a gentle gathering in. It feels like an exchange back and forth. Feel it as a movement, sort of a subtle pressure, traveling from one side of the body to the other. Circle the head. And again, letting the weight sink down stabilizes the lower body. Here, even the waist is a little stable. Most of the movements in head, neck, the upper chest and back. And I can feel a little stretch down at the waist level, but there's no real visible movement there. The breath is still sinking down, and the breath feels a little slower than the movement. Pause, going to turn to the side. Start each turn from the top, working down through the neck. Each turn brings that twist a little further down through the spine and the body. And letting weight sink again keeps the lower body stable. Down through the waist and through the hips. So feel one hip stretching open as I fold into the hip on the other side. Releasing the weight down, especially through the hip I'm turning away from, to anchor that foot. Eventually I feel that twist down in the ankles and feet. The whole sole of the foot stays firm on the floor. So again, no significant weight shifting. You feel some subtle change, bottom of the foot. The toes stay down, the heels stay down. It stays approximately, it changes very subtle. And then shift to one leg, two palms forward, and lift the toes, and then the heel. Touch the wrists as well. Not too much elbow movement. People tend to sort of fly into the elbow. We really want to just focus on the wrist. So your hands aren't really coming up closer to your shoulders. Just keep the range of motion nice and specific. And then toe in and toe out. And here, not a lot of movement from the hip, right? Keep your knee still and just turn from the ankle. With the hands, right, it's, again, just a wrist movement side to side. There's no turning over. There's something very useful about keeping the range of motion small and specific here. Now I'm going to turn my palms up and down, turn the sole of the foot in and out. If my foot's off the floor, I can really just do it from the ankle. But if my toes are down, then I'm going to feel my knees sway from side to side, and it's going to come up into my hip a little bit. Balance is much easier that way, of course. And then circle the knee. The back leg is staying a little bent. So I'm sitting down, tailbones under, hips over the heel, knees over the toes. So the back leg isn't twisted. Reverse the circle. I'm doing all those ranges of motion now with the ankle and the wrist that I just did separately a moment ago. Change sides, again, sit back, drop the tailbone under. And if I keep the visible range of motion located at the extremity, something interesting happens where I can feel it reaching up. So although I'm not moving my elbow, I can feel the effect starting to reach to my elbow as I just pull on the soft tissue and activate the channels. The heel, toe in and toe out. Sole in and sole out. Palms up and down. Circle. And as I discussed weeks ago, all these ranges of motion, right? Again, if my toes are down, then it becomes a big hip movement, right? Big sway as knee is circling. If I stand on one leg, I can just do it in the ankle, right? Just draw a circle with the foot. And all these ranges of motion are part of walking. Right? We don't notice them because they're much more subtle than this when we're walking, but it's really useful to get warmed up this way. So we start to get good articulation in the foot, and we start to activate the deeper muscles, the intrinsic muscles of the feet. Bend the knees, down on the hips, bring the hands to the low back. Sink the weight through the balls of the feet and let the heels rise up. Look up a little bit, back down. As I come up, try to drop the tailbone under still. So look up, keep the chin back, keep the crown lifted. Sink the shoulders as much as we can. So throughout all the foundation exercises, throughout the Tai Chi Walking and anything else, we keep that same posture, keep the same relationships, coordination. Another version of this one where as I look up and lift the heels, I bend the knees and sit down into the hips. It's a little stronger feeling, particularly in the low back area, which is one of the big targets of this exercise, actually. Lift one leg, by thinking of sinking the weight through the other. Right down from the crown, sinking the shoulders, sinking the hips, dropping the weight into the floor. So I feel kind of counterbalance lifting the opposite leg. You can see the body stays nice and stable, right? So my hip doesn't stick out. I'm not swaying significantly side to side, right? I move a little bit to the side to just get centered over that leg, but it's easy to overdo it, hip out or leaning. And once I shift the weight, then I'm on my post. And the foot comes up, there's no change in my posture. And then we're gonna stay on one leg and just sway the other. So first I'm just swaying it back and forth in front of me, and the opposite arm swings in across the center line and out again. The other hand just hangs down, nice and stable, like counterweight, counterbalance. And I'm trying to keep my weight evenly distributed on the standing leg. Same time, really try to relax the hip of the swinging leg so it swings very freely. Do the same thing, but swing front to back. Here the arm and the leg go together. Change sides. All right. So much for my effort to move quickly. I should have known better. But this is a very typical order that I would do these foundation exercises in. Typically, I do them what we've done so far, and half the time at least, without so much talking. So, how to stabilize on that leg? Again, by sinking the weight, right? Not by stiffening up, but actually softening the hip as much as possible. Letting the Tai Chi posture stabilize me rather than struggling to balance. Sitting down into the hips again a little bit. I'm going to really tuck the hips and tailbone under and then untuck. As I tuck under, feel the lower back pushing into the palms gently. And as the hips come back, I can feel that strong curve returning to the low back. Then bend one knee, let the hip drop down. So have one hip up and one down. Feel one side of the waist stretching out, the other side again. Consolidated, condensed, gathering in, and then circle. So if I were drawing a big circle with my tailbone, pause, and reverse. And I want a nice generous movement. I don't want it to be forced. I want to keep relatively relaxed. Wider step, I'm going to sway the hips forward and back. Now I'm trying to keep the tailbone dropped under the whole time. So the curvature of the low back is gently flattened. Swing to the front, open the front, swing the hips to the back, open the back again. Feel that kind of exchange front to back. Keep the head approximately centered. And we'll sway side to side. And I might start to feel some deeper activation of the abdomen. Some sort of deep movement there. So the abdomen is neither tense and drawn in, nor is it completely slack. The posture should give it just a little bit of tonus. Big circle, again, keeping the head approximately centered. And again, listening for that deep movement of the abdomen. Keep the shoulders sinking. Loosen the hips. Keep the feet planted. Keep the breath nice and deep, slow, even, relaxed. So rather than inhaling and exhaling with every circle, it's much more close to perhaps inhaling as we make one big circle and exhaling as we make the other. But even that is a little too coordinated, probably. Just to give you a sense of the timing. Slower than that, even better. And then the shoulders, forward and back, forward and a little bit down, relax back through the middle. Bring your shoulders back and also a little down toward the middle of the back. And I'm not moving my head, I'm keeping my spine, whole posture pretty stable, trying to just move the shoulders, which is primarily a movement of the shoulder blades, really, sliding forward and back. And then pull one shoulder straight down to the body, let the other one rise up. And again, you see that I'm not sort of moving my head around. I'm not leaning to the side. I'm trying to really just isolate the shoulders here. A nice big range of motion without stiffening up. Keeping it relatively loose and relaxed. Keeping the hips loose and sinking. Keeping the breath nice and easy and slow. Circle one shoulder first. Here you'll notice I am turning my head just a little bit. As I bring my shoulder back, I'm turning my head a little away from it. Just to help open up that range of motion, especially sort of that front side reaching down from the jaw through the front of the shoulder. You don't have to add the head turn, but it is a nice little addition. Then change the direction of the shoulder. And again, as I look away, the shoulder's coming back. And I just look to the front again as the shoulder comes forward. Often we work both shoulders at the same time, but it's very helpful to do one at a time, at least sometimes. Really helps you focus more clearly on each shoulder. Reverse. Here I am, having used up all the allotted time for the foundation and warm up, and only having gotten through about half my usual set, because I couldn't help talking my way through it again. But that would be a very typical order. I don't actually have the order absolutely fixed. I change it around a little bit day to day based on what I feel. Do another one for the. So those range of motions are really mostly about my shoulder blade and my back, and the next range of motion is more for what we think of as the true shoulder. Just raising the arms up, but sinking the shoulders still, and being careful not to sort of lift the chest and lean back. But keep a little flexion at the hips, keep the shoulders down, keep the eyes level. So I really focus that movement again here, it's particularly in the shoulder. And once we do Tai Chi, everything's coordinated a lot more. Trying to get every part to move together. Here, we're moving one thing at a time, but actually, everything is still activated at the same time, because to keep the rest of my body stable is a muscle activation. Right? If I don't think about how to maintain the posture, then I am going to sort of do this. And there's actually less activation in a way in the body as a whole to let my body just sort of be carried along with my arms and to gently stabilize against that. So it's a very useful strategy. I mean, it's actually a big part of Tai Chi as well. Something is always being stabilized in Tai Chi posture. If visible movement is what we would call yang, right? Visible activity. A gentle stabilization is more the yin phase. But it's still an activity. It's still a kind of doing, right? The yin is not just a doing nothing. Movement, yang and active. Yin is stabilizing. Still. So again, the shoulders, especially the shoulder blades, so sinking gently as the hands come up. And there's a feeling that my weight is sinking down as a counterbalance to that lift. And these are really useful things to pay attention to, much easier to pay attention to when we're doing something pretty simple. We'll circle one arm. And how to keep the shoulder blades sinking down as the arm moves through a full range of motion. I have one hand across my body on the ribs here as a kind of counterbalance. So as my arm goes back, that hand is almost sort of pulling to the front and keeping my body stable. Because one problem is that as we reach back, we tend to twist the body. And here I want to keep my whole torso facing forward. I'm going to reverse the direction of that circle. The other thing that hand is doing is it's really just giving me a lot of feedback so I can feel how much the muscles under the shoulder are being activated by this movement. When we think of our shoulder, we tend to think of all the muscles on top of the shoulder and typically give a lot less attention to all the muscles underneath the shoulder, which are still shoulder muscles. Let's change sides. Again, the breath is nice and relaxed and deep in the abdomen. And what I want to avoid is inhaling as I lift my arm and exhaling as I go down. It's not a problem per se, except it's just a little faster than we would like to be breathing. It's not going to help us relax and regulate the system. If I was going to do that kind of coordinated breathing, I'd really need to do this circle a lot slower, which isn't a bad thing to do, but again, I've already spent over twice the time I was hoping to getting to this point in the foundation exercises. And these are exercises I always do before doing Tai Chi. Again, not such a lengthy process, and I'm just practicing myself. I'm not talking the whole time. But by doing these foundation exercises first, once I get to the Tai Chi, very quickly everything starts to feel like it's working correctly. So let's bring the heels together and we look at that Tai Chi commencement movement again, which is almost a kind of walk in itself because we are stepping out. Starting with the heels together, toes out, maybe about 45 degrees. We're finding the basic posture. So the head's back, crown's up, softening the knees and tipping forward a little bit from the hips. Right? If you spend any time skiing, thinking of the skiing posture is very helpful for the Tai Chi posture. I feel like you're sort of tipping forward into it, right? With knees soft. That helps open up the back, lengthen the spine. And then as I let the weight sink through one leg, right, it's like that stepping exercise we did. That lifts the other foot up off the floor. Heel first, and then the ball. And then with the turning exercises, turn out from the hip. So this is different from when we did our turning as part of this warm-up where I was working from the top down. Here, as I look to the side a little bit, the whole trunk turns as one piece. The head doesn't really get ahead of the shoulders not ahead of the hips. Right away, I'm opening up the hips. And that step has a little curve to it. The rear and then to the front. Coming back forward automatically happens. It's the stepping a little bit to the rear as part of that turning out that's the important part. So it feels like I'm stepping back and out, not really to the front again. And then as I bring my weight to center, that side turns in. That foot's now straight. Continue to shift the weight. Now it's onto the other leg, about 70%. And I turn a little bit back toward the foot that's turned out. So the weight's over here, but I'm looking a little bit this way. About 70% of my weight, and I turn in again. And that's how I bring my feet parallel. So it really is a sort of strange kind of walking step. It's very similar, you may notice, to the walking we've been doing the whole time. Let's just do that one more time. We're not going to do too many times this morning, but I did want to review it. So many important things are happening. Toe in, shift the weight, toe in. See, I come back to front, facing front. That foot turns in, feet are both parallel, and at the same time, the palms are rotating backward. That involves a little rotation of the shoulder as well, which emphasizes that gentle roundness of the back. And ideally, the sense like the back is sort of rounding, filling out, and enclosing the space of the chest. The back sort of wraps around the body, creating a sense of volume, you might say. Now I'm going to lower my eyes just slightly. That creates a roundness, right, in this dimension to the back. So stepping out helps round it Side to side, this rounds it slightly vertically, and I'm only lowering my eyes a little bit. It helps to load my legs a little bit more, emphasize that bend at the knee and the hip. It's happening at the ankle as well, but that one take care of itself. And now as I raise my eyes just up to the height of the horizon, that's what's lifting my arms here. The eyes are providing sort of the fine control here, guidance. The power comes from the legs. So as I lift my eyes, I'm sinking the shoulders, sinking the hips, letting my weight drop into the floor, and I get a push back from the floor up through my body. That's what lifts my arms. I do not want to feel particularly like I'm doing the lift with my shoulder muscles. In fact, I feel like my shoulder blade is sinking down as my arm comes up. Now I can soften the knees a little bit more and let the elbows bend. See how the hands are retreating a little. And then again, just slightly lower the eyes and release the weight down until the hands feel a little heavy. If they're resting on the surface, table perhaps, but with a little bit of weight in them. Now if I look back up to the horizon, I straighten up, I drop my fingers, but I don't want to lose the basic posture. I want to keep the knees soft, hips flexed, at the back open. Again, look down, load the legs, release up, soften the elbows and knees, and sink down. So this is another version of on, the pressing down movement that we were working on last week as part of the walk. Bring the heels back together, do that whole commencement. That feeling of sinking the weight and letting the force come up from the ground and express in the arms, especially the back of the arm here. It's rising up. It's called pushing up or expanding up and outward, in Chinese pēng. And it's a complementary action to that pressing down on, right, which happens in the palms, coming from the inner surfaces of the arm. And so on is a downward movement. Pēng is an upward movement. It's light, it's expansive, it's almost like buoyant, right? A feeling of something filling and expanding. But it's rooted in the sinking of the weight. Right? If I think of filling a hot air balloon, right? The heat is produced down in the basket, right? And the expanding gases are coming up through the balloon to give it its shape, its volume, and its buoyancy. That's the feeling we have here. And then releasing down is the complementary action. It feels heavy, but without that sense that the crown is still lifted, that the spine is still long and open, it's going to tend to feel crumpled, right? Slack or collapse, which I definitely want to avoid. And so the expansive lifting movement is rooted in sinking the weight and being grounded. But likewise, as we're pressing down, right, we're obviously connecting to that sinking grounded action, right, we still need to feel the lift, right? So the lift is sort of at the core of how we sink down, just like The sinking is at the core of how we expand up and outward and find that kind of structure lift. These are perhaps the most two fundamental ideas in Tai Chi movement. And they're associated with yin and yang again. Within the yang lifting movement, right, the root of it is the yin, the sinking, right, grounded feeling. And within that pressing down feeling, right, at the heart of it has to be some lift and openness and support. So Tai Chi is named for that famous diagram of yin and yang, their interaction, two fish swimming in the bowl, each one with the dot of the other at the center. This time, as I come down, I'm going to turn out one foot, step the other forward, and go into that push. As I sit back, watch what happens to my hands. So last week we were just doing this with the hands, just kind of in a neutral rotation the whole time. And technically it's not a neutral position for the shoulder, but compared to what I'm about to demonstrate, you'll see what I mean. As I sit back, the palms turn out a little bit. Now it's important here to keep the shoulder sinking and not stick the elbows out. As I finish sitting back, the palms start to come down. They've turned in a little bit, not straight down towards the floor, but it's like I'm dropping my little finger, or probably more accurately, just dropping my elbows a little bit more. And as I shift forward, they continue to push down, kind of the same angle. And as I finish pushing forward, the palms turn to the front. Not stiff and flat, but keep the shoulders and the elbows sinking so the hands have a little natural angle to them. And the palms keep some of their roundness, nothing too flat. Sit back, roll over the top, sink down, press down and through. So it's just a slight turnout, keep the shoulder sinking. And it happens as the hands sort of lift halfway back with my weight, and then they start to rotate in again as I finish my weight shift 70% to the back. And sink down and press through. All right, so already this class is getting a little long today. Sit back and step in. Hopefully we see there's a relationship between this commencement movement and that pressing down movement. And if I toe out a little bit on this side, shift the weight, step forward. But I'm going to do it a little more smoothly. It's going to happen as my hands start to come down. Toe out, shift, squared my hips, press through. So here's I go forward and back. I'm keeping the hips turning toward that front leg really the whole time. And not forcing it, but not letting my hips wobble back and forth. And I try to keep the body in a nice straight track. As I come forward, keeping that back foot anchored, sinking in, the heel sinking into the floor in particular, the little toe down. And I come back, keeping that front knee a little bit. So from the side, it's like this. The palms turning out. But watch those shoulders. Keep the shoulder blades sinking down into the back. So here at 50% back, they start to turn in and sink as I come back 70%. 50% forward, the hands are pressing down a little bit more. And then 70% to the front, and come into the push. So here's the pressing down action. Right? What it's named for is particularly apparent as I make the change from shifting my weight back to shifting forward. That's actually the strongest part of the move, and this is really just follow through. Right here, I can feel there's a kind of compression and release. This makes that press down movement a little more sophisticated, a little bit more ergonomic, we might say. Allowing a little rotation. This works with the shape of the joints a little better than keeping it flat as a little stiff and artificial. It takes advantage more of all those foundation exercises we spent so much time on this morning. I step back, toe in with the other foot, and come up. So we did some stepping without the walking per se. We weren't going left, right in order. But this is all part of what we would consider, right, the process, the strategies of the Tai Chi Walking. So I've been trying to coordinate the upper and lower body a little bit more thoroughly. Thank you.